What's up, gang? It's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector. I'm in my attic as always, and it's funny. I just caught myself on the Facebook, Val. Like I'm looking in the face. This is the PALShow, everybody. Just caught myself on the Facebook dancing around to our theme music. I feel so mellow on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time when I listen. Very zen as the emails pop in. Very zen as we start this show every single week. So this is the Professionals and Animal Lovers Show. We want to amplify the message that those people who are focused on animals, focused on helping out animals, are really the kind of people that like to work together. So we're building a compassionate network so everyone wins. That is, we find that people who work with animals and care about animals like to work with and do business with other people who work with and care about animals. And that also means that everyone wins, especially the animals. So we will achieve this network and connection model by creating community, hosting this show every single week to spotlight professionals who are animal lovers and nonprofits who focus on protecting, sheltering, and advocating for animals. And as I say every week after that theme song helps me bring my blood pressure down and mellow out, I say, my comrade, my buddy, my pal. What's up, Val? What's going on, Valerie Heffron?
Hi, everybody. Just really psyched to be here. Episode number 5. I can't believe it already. And yeah, so this is a great example, which we'll discuss with our guests, but you know, you don't have to necessarily be a pet professional, such as a veterinarian or a groomer or a trainer, to be highlighted on this show. Anyone who's in business, who you could be a lawyer, you could be a web developer, whatever it is, but if you're compassionate towards animals, we want to highlight you and your business and support you any way we can. Speaking of companies that are compassionate, I have to mention our company, which is a co-sponsor of the show, Work Be Done. I brought in our very special spokesperson today. Joe V is one of our...
Is that, wait, was that Joe V or Joe B? Who is that? What's going...
That's cute. His costume is a little large on him, but you can see he's a little bumblebee, a worker bee. Here's his little stinger. And
I don't get it. Why is he dressed like a bee?
So the worker bee is actually our company logo. It represents the people who actually want to work and get side jobs and get some side hustle, extra income going on. And we do donate 10% of net profits to reputable rescues, animal shelters, and advocacy groups. So thank you all for your support on that. And I have to say, it is my pleasure to introduce not only a great friend, but a great animal advocate and someone who I consider to be also a mentor. We've protested together while we were in New York. We just went to a Riverhead municipal meeting together to advocate for a bill to be passed, which we'll talk about. And she's going to discuss not only how to become an effective legislative advocate, but some of her proudest accomplishments. So it's my pleasure to introduce the beautiful inside and out JoAnn Winkhart Cave, who is, hold on, I gotta get this right.
I got it for you. Ready? Senior Humane Policy District Leader for the New York Congressional District 1, New York State Senate District 2, New York State Assembly District 8 of the Humane Society of the United States of America.
I don't even have all that.
Big deal, baby.
Thank you.
Tommy.
Glad to be here today. Thank you very much for asking.
We're
absolutely. Yeah. So let's just jump right in because we have a lot of things to talk about. And I really want to start with the basics because I get this question a lot from people who maybe see me go to board meetings and advocate for animals or talk about it on Facebook. You know, in your opinion, what's the first step? How do you become an animal advocate?
Well, there's definitely many different variations of an animal advocate. Number one thing, of course, would be a love of animals. So if you love animals and you want to help them and feel that you do more. Were you about to say something? Oh,
no, you froze for 1 second.
So if you want to help animals and do more for them, which is kind of how I stumbled you can volunteer, look for ways to get involved. A lot of people are involved in rescue, which is a completely an amazing people that do animal rescue. They just have so much heart and soul to put them there and do what they do. And because of it takes it's a very big emotional toll, as you can imagine, being involved in hands-on rescue. I put my energies into legislative advocacy, which means that I use my voice for animals. And that means that legislative advocacy, of course, has to do with laws. And one of the biggest things that we can do to help animals, and the most amount of animals, is by passing humane laws. So, right.
Yes.
So that's either on the federal level, which would be the entire country, or the state level, which is the state in which you live, or on a really local level where we have local ordinances that are passed. So I work as the position that I have with Humane Society. I've been with the program since its inception. So now I am a senior humane policy volunteer. So just as an example, yesterday afternoon, I had a Zoom call with my Congressman Zeldin's office, with the office the person within his office that handles humane laws. And we discussed a few bills that are right now considered priority bills with the Humane Society. So you brought up that we drove out to Riverhead a week ago. I will go to speak at local legislative meetings when there's a bill or a proposal on the table that could potentially help or hurt animals. And I'll go and speak either in favor or against something like that. I've been involved locally, like where the town of Ronkonkoma was trying to manage the Canadian geese population, things like that. So that's like a hyper local level. The state of New York right now is I'm hoping and praying that we will become the next big state to become a puppy mill free state.
Yes.
So there is legislation that made it through the Senate, not once but twice. This is a 2-year legislative session. So when it starts up again, we will take that bill up in the Assembly. But it did pass the Senate S 1130, which is the full name of it is the Puppy Mill Pipeline Bill.
Let me, JoAnn, I got to ask you, I have to ask you a couple quick questions, because, the kind of the theme of our show has become that I have no idea what you guys are talking about. And that's kind of our show. And Valerie knows everything you're talking about. So I imagine that the people listening to this show, whether it be live on at 2 p.m. on Wednesdays here on talkradio.nyc, or listening to this on a podcast platform after the show, are saying, I kind of get what they're saying, but what's a puppy mill, right? So break that down. I know what it means now, but I probably didn't 4 or 5.
Okay.
So tell us that. Let's go to the fundamentals a little bit if we could.
Okay, the basics. So puppy mill is what is referred to at large-scale breeding facilities. Large-scale breeding facilities where animals are bred and are housed for the sole purpose of reproducing. So you have your breeding animals, and they produce litter after litter after litter, and those puppies are then taken away, not properly weaned, but they're taken very young, very early, too soon to be properly socialized. And they are put on the transport trucks and shipped up to all across the country into the stores. So when you visit a freestanding pet store, those dogs are being sourced from what are USDA certified breeders, but that's herein that there lies the big issue, is because the animal welfare standards that regulate the care that the breeding animals receive at USDA certified breeding facilities is abysmal. It's bare minimum survival standards. Anyone that would consider themselves a lover of animals, anybody that has a pet that really cares for their pet, that treats their pet properly. If you walked into someone's home and you saw a dog that was caged, the cage was 6 inches, above his head and 6 inches bigger than the circumference of his body, that, but that's it. And that's where he stayed. And that's where he didn't get to go out on walks, and he didn't get to, be socialized and hang out in the living room without, he would just stay in that cage, and he would receive the bare amount of food and water to survive. It wouldn't be in a temperature regulated. He or she could be exposed to extremes in temperatures, hot and cold, et cetera, et cetera. As a, animal lover, pet owner would be completely horrified and call the authorities and say, this is animal abuse. This
Yes.
Nobody can keep a pet that way. But in
And
the
they never get
USDA certified
groomed.
breeding facility, those
Right.
standards, they're not getting they barely get veterinary attention. It's abysmal and bare minimum. So what we're really trying to do is the upgrade the standards of care, which is a huge
Undertaking.
issue. That has to be done on the federal level. And that's actually one of the bills that I discussed yesterday with my congressman's office. And that's the puppy protection HR 2840. If we can pass that on the federal level, that's going to upgrade the standards of care at these facilities, and bring it out of the Stone Ages. And it'll spare a lot of animals, a lot of misery, but it also is going to spare people that buy animals, because there's many, many sick dogs that are sold to unsuspecting people. So when they go into a store, and then there are many times either the dog will tragically pass away, which leaves the family heartbroken, but also after not only spending thousands to purchase this animal, but now you're stuck with that. So it's all around, it's a situation that needs to be addressed. It absolutely has to be addressed on the federal level, but when we have opportunities to strengthen our local laws, we always will take advantage of that.
Right, so that's actually a good segue. We do need to break shortly, but this is why JoAnn and I schlepped out to Riverhead, New York, and it was, it's quite a haul. I was staying in Long Beach. It's about 2 hours roughly from Long Beach driving. And, they're looking to pass comparable legislation on the local issue, which would make them the first municipality in all of Long Island, New York to do so. So of course, we're going to go and support that effort. And, these are the types of things that people can do, and aside from writing emails and making phone calls. But when we come back from break, I do want JoAnn to educate us in terms of just how to find our representatives and find out who they are, who's up for re-election, who do we want to support, based on their track records or not support. So JoAnn, when we come back, definitely please get into that, because I know for a fact most people don't know who their representatives are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's catch a break.
Okay.
Guys, we'll be back in 90 seconds. PALShow, professionals and animal lovers. Right back.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant. And on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you interested in having a better relationship with yourself, others, and God? Greetings. I'm your host, Dr. JoAnn, for the show A Journey Through into Awareness. On my show, we journey into the awareness that the mind of God is the true seat of our personal consciousness. We join together each Monday at 7 p.m., so tune in on Talk Radio NYC.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
So this is your Professionals and Animal Lovers show, and I am your nonprofit sector connector, host of this show, and host of Philanthropy in Focus here on talkradio.nyc on Friday mornings. And just like on the other show, we're here to amplify messages, and we're amplifying the messages. I'm gonna cry with you guys with the dogs and the cages and the improper. I mean, you're from the Humane, tragic actually, right? You're from the Humane Society, and all I kept hearing, JoAnn, in that first segment while you were talking about the way these animals are treated was that's inhumane. That's like the exact opposite. Like obviously there's a society that's like supposed to make this humane because that's a tragic situation what's going on there.
It's deplorable. And you know what, Tommy, I just want to let you know the people who perpetuate this industry and the people who own the pet stores, they lie. They flat out lie. They say things like, it's a good soundbite to a layman consumer. Oh, we would never purchase from a puppy mill. All of our puppies are sourced from USDA inspected, places, reputable breeders, and et cetera. They'll just flat out lie. And that's part of the problem because there's a misconception and people want to believe what they want to believe. They don't want to believe.
No, but you know what it is, Val? Like, let me play because we have a cool show here, yeah, for sure. But we have a cool show because like I can play the guy who doesn't know, I am the guy, right?
Right.
Like I always thought until like we started talking about this, and sorry, JoAnn, but we're like our little banter is happening here, but we're gonna get you right back in because I have like 15 more questions for you. But like I thought when I want a dog, I go and buy it at the pet store, right? Now look, I know like 15% about what I should know by but now I know a whole bunch more than I used to. Shout out to Regina Mendoza, shout out to Bruno, shout out to Pokey, my friends over in Queens at Camp Happy Tails NYC. My friends that I'm shouting out are dogs. JoAnn. Regina is a person, but then Regina is actually an angel who is saving these animals. But I'm learning so much more. But Val, I wouldn't know if you as my weren't putting this in my face and saying, Tommy D, you don't go to those stores. Because what do I know? I know I'm a person who wants to buy a dog. That store sells them, right? So that's the education piece that we're doing here. Before we jump right back in and you reply to me and then we get JoAnn in, I want to say, JoAnn, we had a couple photos that I put up during the break there. One was Humane Lobby Day up in Albany. And then the other one was looks like you were at like a trade show, Stop Puppy Mills with the Humane Society. So we talk about all that stuff like I was showing, but I want to ask you too, you talk about the advocacy from a legislative perspective. Somebody can go into advocacy and they can open a rescue and they can help dogs like our friend Regina does. But you went legislative. Why? Is that your background? Do you have some, why did you say, you know what, I'm going to go lobby and I'm going to go argue and I'm going to, act on behalf of these animals in a different fashion? What was it that drew you in that direction?
So I never had a background in this, but I wasn't afraid to speak up. And I've been comfortable with that. So I actually, as an animal advocate, I had been volunteering for a shelter. And I had gotten an email because I was always a supporter of variety. So I'd gotten an email, come to Albany for Humane Lobby Day. And I said, what the heck? So I did. And on that trip, that was what catapulted me down the road to where I am, because it opened my eyes I learned things on that trip that I didn't know. I had, like you just mentioned before, I never heard of what a puppy mill is. Well, on that trip at the back of the bus, I learned what a factory farm was. I had never heard the term. I never knew what a factory farm was. That's the animal agriculture. So that's the animals that, you know, when people say I love animals, yeah, most people are probably referring to puppies and kittens and of the such. Companion animals is the first thing that comes to mind. And not that somebody would say they didn't love animals, all the other animals that exist, but when I learned about the egregious treatment that the animals that are raised for food go through, that's what really kept, like, just, I couldn't get these images and out of my head, and I just couldn't wrap my head around that this was like the treatment that that animals receive, you know, and really emotional caring, like cows and pigs have the intelligence, more actually higher intelligence than dogs. So it just really shook me, and I just wanted to my voice to advocate for animals, and that's why I picked up one of the campaigns that I really felt strongly about was the Meatless Monday, because I really advocate for people to just reduce their consumption of animals. Any changes are good changes. I'd love for people to not eat animals at all, but obviously everybody has to do things at their own pace and what is right for them. However, I am a really strong believer in most people don't want to see animals treated poorly. And that includes the animals that they're, you know, also intending to consume, but they don't want to see those animals treated horribly. And so animal welfare is a very hot topic. People have become much more aware of the treatment of animals in many different industries, not even just the food industries, but also the cosmetic testing,
fashion.
There's so many ways that animals are abused for fashion. Exactly. So there's been tremendous headway being made, and a lot of that comes from just people, the public becoming more knowledgeable and then rejecting and demanding changes. And that's why you see now cage free, crate free. These are all terminologies in the food industry that people, and organic too. If you buy organic, the standards for the animals is a better standard than just like your run of the mill. So these are all things that people can make changes, and people can be think about.
JoAnn, I want to jump in for a second because I think this is a great opportunity to kind of mention one of your many accomplishments. But in terms of what I've learned from you, which is a great deal, but I remember hearing about the fact that you got a great restaurant on Long Island to implement a vegan menu, because I remember also when we did that Meatless Monday networking event or educational event, that you said something like, you know, there's a lot of people, veganism, vegetarianism, plant-based foods are on the uprise. People are choosing it for compassionate reasons as well as health. And what you said really resonated with me. I remember it like it was yesterday. You said, you know, if someone has a friend or a family member who's a vegan and they want to go out to dinner, they're tired of just having to settle for a slice of lettuce and tomato as their meal. So right. JoAnn was an integral part of getting this very popular restaurant to create a vegan menu. And they even did, I think, a vegan tasting night, like a pairing night or something. And it's a huge success. So even something like that, like a lot of people know local restaurant owners, talking to them about just offering alternatives to their traditional menu. Reno, who was one of our first guests, owns JoAnn's Gourmet Pizza, and he created a vegan line of meals, not even just pizza, but like he has like
me, JoAnn.
Yeah, meatballs, stuff like that. So, you know, even just something like that, the ripple effect is tremendous. So
mention, I must interject here because he has pickled pizza, which we still haven't tried, but it's been ever since our first episode we announced that Reno has pizza at JoAnn's Gourmet Pizzeria over in Roslyn, not too far from the attic. Well, that's where fluff in the attic. But yeah, we got to check out the pickle pizza. I mean,
Yeah.
pickles is not an animal, so it comes from cucumbers, y'all. So that's how that works.
Yeah.
Forks over knives, Food Inc., Cowspiracy. I had to look away to pull these docs up, but these are a lot of documentaries that I think nothing's perfect, as we know, but a lot of these I think have shown a light on the tragic abuse that goes on. Although, and again, now we're on to food source animals, which again, whole different topic of conversation. Although abuse is abuse, right? And why
All animals feel pain.
no doubt, 100%. Yeah. So I want to ask you 3 R's: reduce, refine, replace. What does that mean? What's that
So
about?
reduce, refine, replace is actually one of the things that we promote at Humane Society. Refine, replace. So in a nutshell, reducing is just very simple. Reducing your consumption of animal products. Okay. Anything that comes from an animal. The second part of it is refining. So when you are refining your diet, you can look for the certain buzzwords that will help in your choosing of a product that did come from an animal. But like certainly with your eggs, eggs, you if you look for organic and cage-free or free-ranging, like there's certain buzzwords. There's also certain labels that can are sometimes on the food packaging that there's certainly and choosing what to leave off your plate. One of the things that I hear most is that when someone is going to say, all right, I'm going to start to transition away. And like, usually a lot of people stop eating red meat. Like that's one of the first things they cut out is the red meat. But it's really interesting because, and I'm not, promoting the eating one animal over another. However, it is the chickens and turkeys. Certainly chickens are the number one most badly treated in the food system, and they're the largest number of animals that are slaughtered for meat, but they don't receive the same protections as land animals. Pigs are also because many times they're kept in confinement, which means that they impregnate the female, but she's in a stall, like it's like an iron stall. It looks like some kind of medieval torture chamber. Really, they can't move. They're immobilized. That's how they spend their life.
And then
It's horrible.
Then you ingest this.
Despicable.
You ingest this abuse, I guess, is the whole thing about it too.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing. Like exactly, but you are like animals. Like you are what you eat. So we say if you're going to transition away, like the chickens and turkeys and pork, like those animals suffer greater than actually the animals in the beef industry. So again, I'm not promoting. That's like the component when you say refine. If you're going to refine and you're going to look to leave some meat off your plate, you might want to start with the chicken versus the beef. In refining.
I got to bring a little levity, a little bit of levity to the conversation right before we go to a break because I can't help myself. My dad used to say, you are what you eat, and I'd be there with like a whole package of Milano cookies, and he used to tell me I was going to turn into a Milano cookie. So I figure if I can live on a diet of iced coffee, pretzels, and cookies, I'm not messing with any other species. So that's sort of how I've kind of skirted the system. So I'm helping out the planet. I'm helping out the animals. I'll just keep eating cookies and pretzels. And that's
the last R though is become so easy in today's
tell
world.
Tell us what it is, and then we're going to tease them, and we're going to come back from a break and talk about it.
The last R is replace.
Replace, gang. You got to come back in 90 seconds if you want to find out what that's all about. JoAnn's here, Valerie's here, and your boy Tommy D's here. We'll be back in 90 seconds, pals.
I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Gateway to the Smokies. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 7. Every episode is dedicated to memorable experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and surrounding areas. This show features experts and locals who expound upon the richness of culture, history, and adventure that awaits you in the Smokies. Tune in every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a cannabis enthusiast, a cannabis professional, or interested in entering the cannabis space? I'm Johnny Tsunami, and this is Planet Baco Lolo, a less taboo view. On our show, we will discuss the cannabis world through the perspective of various cannabis professionals. Tune in every Thursday evening, Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Talk Radio NYC, Planet Baco Lolo, a less taboo view.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauver, employment law, business law attorney, and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc, now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
We're getting silly on the PAL show. I don't know who's supposed to talk. Me, you, JoAnn, why don't you go? Great.
Hey,
JoAnn,
I'm
you
sorry.
talk. Say something,
Okay.
JoAnn.
My favorite R is replace. So replacing is so fun because there's so many products out there now. There is a non-animal product for every single thing that you could think of in your refrigerator. So you open up my fridge, I'm going to have almond milk. I'm going to have non-dairy butter. I'm going to have non-dairy sour cream. I'm going to have non-dairy ice cream. But there's so many different types of like, if you don't like almond milk, oh, okay. Well, there's soy milk, there's rice milk, there's coconut milk, there's almond milk, there's oat milk. There's so many types. And I think that's actually really mainstream now. I mean, the government had to bail out the dairy industry because people just really stopped buying whole milk. And that was for like, health reasons. But honestly, there's so many vegan and vegetarian options, but vegan. Let's talk vegan because honestly, if you have any one of these products now that are out there, they are so much like the animal-based product that it's worth trying. You just got to try it. But there's so many out there. I shop.
I have to jump
Trader
in,
Joe's,
Joe, because JoAnn,
Trader Joe, they have tons.
I don't think she can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure. Sorry. But no, I wanted to jump in and highlight what you've been doing now for several years. And Barry and I had the pleasure of participating with, which is every year, JoAnn has hosted a vegan barbecue, which is, it's called like just grilling, no killing. And everybody, it's cute. Everybody brings, a vegan dish. And she has, I mean, you should see her husband on the grill. He's amazing. But
what's the deal with the watermelon? You guys grill watermelon? I'm hearing about that right now.
yeah, you can grill watermelon, but
Watermelon steaks.
So because of JoAnn, she turned us on to Beyond Burgers, which I was like, no way, Jose, am I gonna like that? And I've had other veggie burgers and I always found them to be dry and just cardboardish. So we loved it. And even Barry, who loves burgers, we eat Beyond Burgers now, like all the time. And again, the ripple effects, I told her last year I was going to do my own vegan barbecue, but then COVID happened, so I haven't done it yet. But I want to, because I have gotten so much out of it. And the one other thing I have to mention, because after watching some of those movies that Tommy mentioned, but also an old neighbor of mine, she's this young, great advocate. She has Cowspiracy and bumper stickers all over her car. And one of the things that she brought to my attention is that the mental health capacity issue there's a lot of employees who work at these factories and they suffer every day. It's depressing. They cry. They need the money. And a lot of times, this is not a coincidence, these factories are in not so affluent areas, because think about it, people went ballistic when they tried to open up a chicken farm somewhere recently in Suffolk County. Nobody wants these actual factories that, slaughter animals in their backyard. So the people who work there, they're desperate for jobs. And it's it just.
Oh, Val, why though? Let's bring the pain. If we're gonna do it, let's do it, right? So why? Because they're murdering others' peace.
Yeah, and they see it, even if they're not pulling, the switch or whatever they're doing, they're herding them into the place that they're gonna get slaughtered. They're cleaning up blood and waste, that excrements from the bodies. It's a horrible livelihood.
It's a dark, scary world. I always said that, when you're watching TV and those late night, sometimes the commercials come on and they pull at your heartstrings for make a donation for, puppies and kittens, and they show, puppies and kittens or dogs in horrible situations, and your heart bleeds. I say, I wish there would be a commercial that would show the factory farm realities, because that's
they should do that. They should do that. And when I found out, that they take baby chickens because they're born male, okay, and they throw them into the meat grinders, and that goes into your pet food sometimes when they're talking about animal byproducts.
Right. That's a byproduct. Right. That's a byproduct of the egg industry. That's a byproduct of the egg industry. The male chicks have no purpose. They can't lay eggs, so they're immediately discarded and they go into those choppers.
And they're alive.
Sometimes they're gassed. It depends on the place, but we could spend a lot of time talking about that, but that's a deep, dark issue. Obviously, it's why I do what I do now, because I felt it was so important, and I want to advocate for animals, and I want to advocate for the humane treatment of animals, because let's be realistic.
So how do we clone you? How do we clone you, JoAnn? In other words, so now you got involved, but I consider myself an animal advocate, but how does the average person out there who's watching or listening to this show, hopefully they're animal lovers, they want to know, who should I email? Yes. What are the bills? How do I find out what bills are being proposed? How do I get behind these legislative actions? Please educate.
So certainly you can definitely go to either the Humane Society website or like an ASPCA website. This way you can sign up for to take action, and you'll get emails when there is legislation that you can and everything is done so simple. Like it'll take you 5 minutes to take the action. Usually the email is in a form that you're just basically filling out your name and information so that they can send it to your elected official. Your elected officials are determined on your zip code and where you live. So to get notification, like the Humane Society, like the ASPCA, you just go directly to their website, sign up to become a alert on the animal alert list. I'm not sure exactly what the terminology is, but you would find it on the website, and then you'll get those alerts. But on the flip side, everybody listening to this right now, if you care about animals, and you want to use your voice, don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid. It's really easy, and it takes only a few minutes. But you have to first know who your elected representatives are. You need to know who is everybody living in the state of New York. Your senators are Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Those are your two senators, but you have a local senator. Everybody listening has a local senator, and there's a lot of them. So that's what you would need. You can go to the website, newyorksenate.gov. It's NY, so it's not spelled out. It's nysenate.gov and /find-my-senator. And then you would put in your zip code and you'll find out who your local senator is. I now have a new local senator, and my senator is Mario Matera, and he recently took very S 1130, which is the puppy mill bill. And I also want to there was a thought that happened before we went to break. Animal advocacy is a bipartisan issue. It's not a red or a blue issue. It's not a Democrat or a Republican. It is bipartisan. Right. We have people on both sides of the aisle. So it doesn't matter what you identify as, or if you're an independent, it doesn't matter what you identify as. You can speak to anybody, that elected official. It doesn't matter, because animal advocacy by and large is supposed to be and is considered nonpartisan. Because at the end of the day, there's people on both sides of the aisle that care deeply about animal issues and humane legislation. So that being said, you need to know who your representatives are so that you can call their offices and email them when there's a particular piece of legislation that is could have huge effects upon, and we're not talking just local, a few thousand. We're talking about billions, because there's 8 billion animals a year that are raised for food.
Yeah, and it's such a good point, and I absolutely will attest to that. I've personally experienced many people crossing party lines over an animal issue. So, and multiple elections, when someone feels that animals are being mistreated and the people who are trying to help them are being ignored and it's unjust, we will all probably cross party lines to support their opponent, because that's just, we have to get them out. It's the most frustrating feeling in the world, because again, these animals don't have any voice. They don't have a choice. No puppy is going to, be born in a puppy mill and say, "Oh, please rip me away from my mother before I'm ready." And certainly the breeding dogs are not going to say, "Oh, just keep me here, barely keeping me alive, so I can just pump out puppies until you decide to discard me like a piece of garbage." They don't have a voice. So, we all have to get involved to make the changes.
Yeah, and a lot of times also your elected officials, there's so many bills that are introduced in a legislative session. Yeah. There's hundreds and hundreds of bills that would pertain to, let's say, animal advocacy, but then and there's thousands many bills. Every bill that gets introduced, it's your job to bring it to their attention. They may not even know about a specific thing, and once you bring it to their attention, and if you can explain the benefits or the potential harm, then now it's on their radar, and now and it keeps what at the end of the day, what do elected officials want? They want to be reelected. So if they're getting phone calls and they're getting a lot of calls on a specific topic, it's going to get their attention. They're going to give it their attention. Right. And if the majority of people are wanting them to vote and support something or not, they're going to pay attention to that because they want to be reelected.
I don't think people realize how simple it is to just how powerful it is, I should say, to make that one phone call or send that one email. It is extremely powerful when you can do it in numbers.
And it's Valerie, so easy.
So
Yeah.
guys, we got to jump to a quick break. But what I want to ask real quick, you know, Val, I know when we come back, I want you to talk about just the act of getting out and voting and making sure, you know, you and I talked about that earlier today. We should make a point of that. But gang, listen to what we're saying here. Listen to what these women are telling you. It's about getting out there. If this is bothering you, what you're hearing about today, go out there and do something about it. Go out and advocate. Call your local politicians and get involved. Sometimes if something's important. Sometimes you just got to roll up your sleeves, get involved and do it. Quick shout out to our friends. Watch a couple of our friends checking in. Barry's checking in. Samantha's checking in. Ceci is checking in on the Facebook. Always know you can check in and comment and say hello to us on Facebook during the show. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds to bring this show to a close. Pals, right back. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Uninformed about menopause and how it impacts on your life? Hi, I'm Pat Duckworth, women's health strategist and host of the Hot Women Rock radio show, empowering women leaders at menopause. Join me every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. UK time on talkradio.nyc for interviews with inspirational women who will share their top tips to rock your world.
Have you ever thought of reinventing yourself? Are you looking to create a new life's journey? Hi, I'm Kevin Barbaro, host of Coffee Talk XL every Tuesday night live, 8 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live to hear me and my guests from a variety of different backgrounds. As a former college coach and a current full-time actor and owner of multiple companies, my show is as eclectic as my life. That's Coffee Talk XL every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
All right, guys, we are back. It's PALS, the Professional and Animal Lovers Show. So we're talking about voting. We're talking about how to become an effective legislative advocate. And the number one thing that we all have to do is make sure we're registered to vote and that it's current. Great example. A lot of people moved during COVID. They transferred from, highly populated areas for the most part to more suburban neighborhoods, et cetera. And most people, when you move, including myself, updating your voter registration is not the number one thing that comes into your mind. So I want to let everyone know, I looked it up prior to the show, the deadline to update your registration, or if you turned 18 or you have kids that just turned 18 to register, it has to be postmarked in the state of New York by October 8th. So don't wait. A great resource for that is the New York State Board of Elections website. I refer to it often. You can easily download the form and mail it, or you can go to your local Board of Elections and drop it off. But
that's like next week.
October 8th is right around the corner. Yeah, and yesterday was National Voter Registration Day, but you will not be an effective advocate if you can't vote. And it's very frustrating. I've known people where it's happened. I called them up 2019. And I said, I knew they were aware of all of these issues and they wanted to get a certain person out of office, which we did, thank God. But the point is that she told me, I never updated my registration. Now, this is someone who's considering running for office. So we have to make sure that our registration is accurate. Okay. Okay. So JoAnn, I want to switch to a fun topic now, because this is like also another great accomplishment of yours, but it's also kind of like an enlightening thing. Let's talk about Barkin' Brunch.
I'd love to. I just have to, just because we got off topic you have to also know who your congressperson is. So if you want the congress.gov /members find-your-member. Because you want to know who your congressperson too. That being said, Bark and Brunch is awesome, and I look forward to working on that every year. It's really fun because I've made so many contacts in Long Island rescue groups. So the Refuge restaurant, they allow for dogs on their expansive outdoor patio on Sundays and during brunch hours, which is from 11 to 3. And Tito's Vodka, they are very philanthropic. They support lots of different things, but dogs are something that vodka, their slogan is vodka for dog people. So they're very partial to dogs, and they do great things, and they give away, they make beautiful donations to many different rescue groups across the country. But here with Long Island, of course, Tito's is one of the vendors that sells vodka to the restaurant, and they wanted to get behind this Bark and Brunch. So every Sunday, people come to Refuge with their leash dogs. They can enjoy brunch on the outdoor patio with their dog. So obviously it's weather dependent, but now they have a big, giant outdoor covered patio area. So doesn't really affect you now if it rains, because there's so much. Yeah, that's really key. So that's something new this year. But this sprinkled throughout the season, because Bark and Brunch starts in April and it runs to like end of October. But we have 10 groups that there's a lot of, they all have to be a 501c3, but we invite local rescue groups and also local groups that cater to dogs in some fashion. So it might be group like we just had the military there, Paws of War. They provide service animals. We also have returning groups that come each season, rescues, like a little shelter. Sunday, I have Long Island Dog, which they are a 501c3, but they're not a rescue group. They're a group for dog owners. And what they do is legislatively advocate for more dog-friendly spaces on Long Island, so that you can bring the dog to this, potentially this park or potentially this beach. Because legislative advocacy is how you get it done. You have to get the officials to say, okay, we'll make this a dog-friendly space. So that's an example of using your voice.
JoAnn, they've been trying to do that in Long Beach for years. They want just one block with a beach dedicated to being able to bring your dogs. But I want to say Bark and Brunch is so much fun also, and the food is terrific. And this is
and we have vegan options.
And they have vegan options. And this is a prime example. This is a prime example of what we're trying to do here on PALS, is to highlight, all things. You're in the mood for a martini or a cosmopolitan. Why not? I only buy Tito's vodka, and I was technically banned from drinking vodka a couple of years ago. But the point is that when I'm going to someone's house, if we're going to pick up a bottle of vodka for them, it's always Tito's, because for the animals.
Yes, I'm always going to promote Tito's, because what they do is unbelievable. They're so philanthropic. They'll make like last year with COVID, we had to cancel almost half the brunches. We were supposed to start up in April. We didn't start up until late summer. And Tito's said, you know what? It's not their fault. We're still going to cut those checks.
Wow.
So they still made the donation that all those groups were excited and needed so badly. Tito said, hey, they didn't have their event, but that doesn't mean we're not going to send them the check. And I just think they're awesome.
I love
it. Amazing. Me too. Yay, Tito's.
I gotta say, I actually saw the Tito's gang yesterday. I was doing a day of service, hashtag 60 days of service, day number 15 with the Marty Lyons Foundation, incredible nonprofit organization. We were out at the golf course yesterday, Beth Page, and And thank you, by the way, for all the gang out there for welcoming me for my day of service with you guys. But I will tell you, Tito's was there. So this is a call out to Tito's. You're doing great work. We'd love to have a representative of Tito's reach out to us here on the PALS show, or that would be 2 shows. If I say PALS show, that would be the Professionals and Animal Lovers show. So I'll just say PALS. But we so yeah, how do you get in touch with us? You can reach us at Jovi at PAL, PAL-show.com. Jovi as in Jovi the dog. That's how you get in touch with us. And also PALShow is on TikTok and Instagram. So anybody who wants to get in touch with us, whether it be Tito's or somebody else who really wants to find out more. JoAnn, one last thing before we bring it to a close, because we're coming up to the end right here. Anything else you want us to know about?
Yeah, I have a Facebook 2 group pages if anybody wants to join. One of them is called Suffolk County Animal Advocates that I moderate. The other one is called Meatless Monday and Beyond, and I moderate that page too.
Love it. All right, JoAnn, you're a great friend of the show. You're a great friend of ours. We appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. Don't be a stranger. You can always come back. Bring some of those rescues with you next time. And I want to ask one other question before I close out the show. When it comes down to it, we don't currently have a dog in my family, but my kids love dogs. So are we welcome to come to Bark and Brunch and just, be there with Dog-less and just kind of hang out with all the dogs?
Oh, right. You don't need a dog to come to brunch.
Okay. All right.
When we have a rescue group, a lot of times they have adoptable dogs with them that day, so you never know.
Listen, you don't even listen to the past episodes of the show. You'll know the kind of trouble I'm in right now as far as adoption. We'll talk more about it. So thank you for being here, Valerie. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for coming up with this idea. Thank you, Sam Leibowitz on the other side of the glass, for doing great things. Sam sent me a note during this and said he's like me. He likes to eat cookies. And I think he said he's been, off the meat for a number of years, 6-7 years now. So shout out to you. Shout out to the Long Island Railroad. Hello, Railroad. I have to call them out because they're there. So let me tell you 2 things. Next week on the show of the Lion Organization, Long Island Orchestrating for Nature, John DiLeonardo will be here. He's an anthrozoologist, and he has successfully led campaigns to stop numerous circuses, exotic animal acts, deer culls, and goose culls here on Long Island, as well as led campaigns to stop animal circuses in New York City. We used to think the circus was fun, but there was a lot of animal abuse. So find your treat somewhere else, gang. That doesn't work. Valerie asked me to close the show with this each and every single week, and I shall. In his total commitment to nonviolence, Gandhi always included the animals, stating, "The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way it treats its animals." Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. This is PALS. Bye now.
Amen.